What's going on, everybody? I'm Jason. This is my 2020 Toyota Supra, and what I have here today is the new A90 Shop carbon fiber Delta wing. Now, this just came out. This is late spring of 2022. I would call it a rep, basically wing, but it's just something, the style I've been looking for. And you saw in the previous video me removing the stock little duck bill that was taped on. So now the A90 Shop, this thing came with no instructions whatsoever. Now it's pretty straightforward, drilling holes in the hatch and installing it on the car, but I'm going to make a walkthrough video of what I think is necessary in installing this thing and some tips and tricks based on other wings being installed. I've never done one. The hatch of the Supra, this whole panel right here is actually made out of just a composite plastic, almost similar to a bumper, except it's thicker. And so you don't have to, it's real easy to drill into. It goes through really simple. We are going to be drilling holes straight through this part right here on the end, and the heads of the bolts will end up on this side. So we'll end up with the top Allen. I'll show you all the bolts in a minute. We'll end up with the top Allen head here, and down here will be a washer and the nut pulled tight. And so there's going to be one, right in this area, right in this area, right in this area, and then one a little over and over. Now I have some tips and tricks and some thoughts on pre-install. One of them will end up in somewhere in this area. I have to see once I put it on top. This is really hard to pull this piece off. There's lots of, this piece comes off easy, but then there's lots of little components in here that control things that have to be all and done to pop this piece off to get in here. And I still don't think there's enough room between this black and the metal anyways, based on all the other wings that people have installed. The only one that I'm worried about is up here. The bolt wouldn't be long enough to come through. Plus, you don't want nothing resting on this anyways in this area, because that goes down here on this. Now, I'll do tips and tricks as I'm doing the install. Things to watch out for. As you're pressing the drill bit through, you don't want to drill into this. So basically what I recommend is having something to have the trunk open 5 or 6 inches. Put something down here, just even maybe a thick pillow or something, and push the lid down. That way when your drill bit goes popping through, it doesn't boop and get little drill bit marks in your nice piece here. Now I'll show you that as I'm doing it. Now let me get to the parts. So of course we have the wing across. What this has, I'm going to sit down here. This is the upright, the standard is what I call them. This is like a carbon fiber piece. It's not made out of carbon fiber, it's just overlaid, I think, because it's really stout and thick. And this is the top. There's 4 holes here, and there's 4 holes in the bottom of this, and then we have 3 holes at the bottom, and then I'm going to go here. Now I haven't test fitted this yet, so I don't know if this is going on the inside or outside when it gets put on the car. That is yet to be determined. I'm going to screw the whole thing together and set it on the car before I drill any holes, and let you all know what side it needs to be on to have the proper width. So you don't have to go through all that trouble. You can just mount your pieces down and then mount these to it, and then the bottom of the wing to this. So I would mount these to the wing and then drop that down onto here and mount it to that, instead of trying to work up on these. So that's all that came with the kit, besides all of these nuts and bolts and washers. So it is 0 instructions. So what I'm thinking before we start here is, I did a count of the hardware, and these are longer, and there's not as many of them. These are the ones that are going to be for mounting the uprights to the trunk lid. And then all of these shorter ones are for mounting the wing to that, and this to the wing. So you want to count before you start. It's like 14 and 8 or something like that. or 10 and 8 or 10 and 14, whatever it is. I made sure I had enough, and I made sure I had enough of the bolts and the washers, of bolts and nuts and the washers. Now this is something that I'm going to help you out with. Now I found the Allen wrench that fit right. The writing is so small on this. I think it's like 5/32, but another one fit really well too. So just use whichever one fits best for you for tightening these up. And then of course the 10 millimeter. Everybody has none of those for the other side. Now that's the tools you need. Like I said, no instructions. Now this is what I'm thinking for the install. I'm thinking about using some thread locker on all these, on the bolts. I'm thinking about using 3M tape, the same thing that the duckbill was taped down with. I'm thinking about layering that on the bottom of this, maybe right around the edges, to keep grit from getting in here. Even though it's going to be pressed tight against the yellow, I'm thinking, but I don't want to put it where the screw heads are, because it will twist and make a mess when you're screwing it in. So that's one thing I'm thinking about trying. And then the next thing I'm thinking about doing is, as I'm putting this down, is using some just clear silicone sealant around all the screw holes in case rain does, which it will, get up in there and try to find a way into the holes and into the hatch. Now that wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, because it doesn't drain inside the car. It's draining to these things, which are outside of the car seal. But I'm just trying to think about things, because you also don't want it going up inside the hatch, you know what I mean? If you're parked in an angle and it ran the other way and was inside between plastic and all that. So it's just something to think about. So that's what I'm thinking before I start, to help everybody with this install. I don't know, because no instructions and no videos at the time. So I'm really hoping this helps a lot of people who buy this wing, or any wing really, about all this drilling through, because I've seen plenty of people go, oops, I drilled all the way through and marred the plastic underneath. So while we're on the subject of hardware during test fit, don't forget a nice sharp drill bit. I got a 7/32. That's exactly the size hole in these. Makes these a little tough to put in, like thread. You could do a little wiggle room and go a little bit bigger. Once you drill this hole, you could go a little bit bigger if you need a little wobble room on this when it's being assembled down. It'd still be under the mount. So as you can see, put a bag of towels. I put some tape down so I can move this around, press hard, and it won't end up scratching up the paint. I really, when I go to install these, I want to push forward as much as I can so there's pressure on this. And I want my ledge even right here, and then it just backs off just a hair. And when I do the other side, you know what I mean, I'll do the exact same thing. It seems to fall in that exact same place. I'm going to drill one hole here and then one hole here and put those in, and then I'm going to drill those out with this mount already there. The only one I'm not going to drill right now is this one. Like I said, it kind of feels like it's going to be right where that bump stop is, and I'm just not too sure about that. I'm going to drill it no matter what. I just don't know if I'm going to press it all the way through on the other side, because the screw might not be long enough. I just don't know yet. I have to see how much is left over on these. But I did test fit this and the fitment of those going up and what side they need to be on this. At this point, to get the width right, they have to be on the outside of this and the wing, which I don't like. So I'm hoping that once I get these installed, the angle comes into this, and I could do it with loose bolts and kind of tighten and torque things down, because I would like the riser on the inside of the top, on the bottom at least, instead of being out here. So I have to wait and see. So I did this hole with that drill bit size. I actually had to screw this into the trunk lid, and it comes out down here. Like I said, there's plenty of room for it down here. I made this corner almost flush, and then it's a tiny, and then it gets more. And I'm gonna hold this down when I drill it. So that was my guide for the same on this side. Just right on it, and then it's just a little bit showing. Work my way around. So next, I'm gonna do the completely opposite hole up here, and then this one, and then this one. Like I said, I'm waiting on this one to last to see what happens. I'm gonna drill it, I just don't know if I'm gonna make it push all the way through. Here, I'll show you this drilling, how easy this stuff goes through like butter. Alright, so I want to press this down, and I can still move it a little bit. So I want to get it so that this feels nice and tight all the way around down here. It's right here is where I want it. I'm going to follow the angle of this. It's not straight down this way. It actually follows the angle, or that screw head will be lopsided. So you want to follow the angle, the exact angle here. Put it in. You don't even have to go fast. And that one's through clean on the inside of the trunk. So like I was saying, this hole right here will just, like I said, match that angle. You actually have to hand kind of screw it into the plastic of the trunk for it to come through. It just doesn't push and fall in. If you needed wiggle room to readjust this at the end, you could do that. Take this off and then go one size bigger if you need to move it and tweak it just a little bit. This is fitting nice and tight now, and you can see that's in there. Now let's look and see what we got going on. I think this is raised a little, so I'm going to have to make that tighter, but I'm a little weirded out here with that. It is just, sorry, I'm a little weirded out about this. It is just showing. So I'm either gonna have to, I'm pretty sure I picked up a longer one. I'm pretty sure what I'm gonna have to do is try to get that to go through just a tad bit more. I'm gonna have to go get a longer stainless steel screw for that one. That makes me definitely know that this one's not gonna come through where I want it. So, and I just can't get in here properly. And like I said, the bolt head wouldn't fit here anyways. So once I put these bolts on, I'm probably gonna Dremel that off and maybe put a little black grommet lid over it or paint it black or something so it's not so pronounced. But so far I'm happy with the way this is coming out. No issues. So I'm gonna keep going and I'll show you guys the rest here in a second. All right, let me show you guys a tip. With the length that my drill bit is and drilling this, my chuck almost hits this. Now, I don't have a very bitey chuck, but even if it was spinning, it would probably start tearing into, my chuck would probably start tearing into this if I tried to press this through. Now, I did make it through the yellow part, but I did not pop through the bottom. Once I take this off and take this tape off and put, get the final, I'll drill straight through all the way. I know with these two bolts in that this is exactly where that hole's gonna line up. So, off to do the other side now. Well, here is all the scary drilling. All the holes drilled out, and they all came through. A nice sharp drill bit's important, guys. Brand new, by the bit. It will actually be threaded into these, kind of. I mean, that would never hold it. but it's nice. In checking my symmetry, I know it's a little dark and kind of hard to see. Oh no, I can see pretty good. This came out in the little circle part here, right on the edge of it, and so did this one, right on the circle part, right on the edge of it. So I'm basically, what I'm saying is it's even on both sides. Now, you want to clean up any burrs you have in here before you get going. I got some little burrs here. I'm gonna have to trim those with a razor blade or something, to, you know what I mean, so the bolt piece of tape left over here, but I gotta trim those up just a little bit, but they wipe off with my hand, so actually it's good. So now it's just a matter of adding the tape and some silicone to holes. Like I said, I do believe that this screw is not long enough here, and I'm thinking this one's not gonna be long enough. So I might end up going by longer ones, we'll have to see. But these are gonna be far enough away from this edge not to hurt anything, no matter how long they are. But I don't want them hanging out and being gross either. So I will probably end up, you know, once they're all screwed and tight, is actually dremeling them as smooth as possible, so they just look nicer. And then maybe I'll put like a bolt hole, like a black cover over them and silicone it on, or paint them black or something so they really don't stand out. But yeah, that's that part. So let me get the tape on the bottom of the holders, and then we'll keep going and show the rest of the install. It's going easy so far. So the tolerance is so tight, I decided not to add that red two-sided tape. I decided to put a little silicone around the holes there, and just a dap of silicone here. I did this side already, and none really squeezed out that I could see. And it is nice and tight, following the contours of the car. I'm very happy with it, and it's very sturdy. I will need to get 2 longer bolts to properly put it on, so I won't be driving it until I get those 2 longer bolts put in. But yeah, let me get this one in, I'll show you it. Now I don't do that with this tight. This just saves me time and my carpal tunnel. I'll finish that off with actually an Allen wrench in the socket. And I am doing the washer shiny side. So earlier when I was talking about that angle, you can see the angle, it's so close, but if it wasn't, the head wouldn't sit flush. And make sure my chuck doesn't eat into this. Got a little wiggle room. Now on the inside I'm using the nut and the washer also. And I'm not using a Loctite either because the silicone has got on the threads of the screws. That will be good enough as Loctite, but it never would be permanent. It could unbolt easily. So yeah, I'm gonna tighten those up and check for any silicone that squeezes out. All right, let me show you what I decided to do here. I decided to go buy at just Lowe's, the hardware store, some black rust-proof nuts, bolts, washers, and black nuts also. Basically, this is what I bought. Because this screw was not long enough to mount, and this one of the other ones needed a long one. And then I just matched the other hardware up. And then this one wasn't long enough before, and then it ended up being a little extra long because these are real long, but they didn't have nothing in between. And I dremeled it off, and now I'm going to use a little black paint touch up on it. And as you can see, all these are nice and mounted up in here now. So here's the extra length on it that I'll just Dremel off. I think it gives it a cleaner look on the inside. I'm not worried about the thing coming off. It is so sturdy. Those screws aren't going to pull through all that plastic and metal. These end up being different size thread, standard I guess, instead of metric. And I had to actually thread them through the drill holes that I drilled through. They were so tight. They would hold on by themselves theoretically, but no, they wouldn't. But you know, they were that tight. So that was really nice. So yeah, I'm gonna Dremel that one off, and then this is just my little dust catch as I'm Dremeling. So I'm gonna get that one off, and I start to mount the vertical hardware. Pro tip: when you're Dremeling that screw off, before it cuts all the way, grab it with pliers or whatever you have handy, because that is going to be too hot to hold, and you also don't want it dropping on your fender. Another pro tip: before I started this project, I should have protected my fenders more. I should have taped them up, put some towels down or something, because of all the drill things dropping on. Now it's not going to hurt it, it's just going to have to be more cautious cleaning it up. Guess what? Installation is done. I'm going to talk a little bit about the final steps here, and then I'm going to take this thing and wash it, and then I'll have like a big reveal of the car outside so everybody can see it, all the different angles, far away, close, roll, and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that part of the end of the video. So like I was saying, I did the black hardware on here that I went and bought at Lowe's, and then I used all the factory hardware that came with it here. You know what I mean? So it's your bolt and your washer, your washer and your bolt. Everything looks pretty even. This is nice and tight up against it. Likewise at the top. Now in the pictures I see for them, they're only using 2 screws, but I mean all 4 screw holes align, so I'm going to use them. I'm not crazy about all this extra length. One day I'll probably get up there with a Dremel when I can really put some plastic down on the car and Dremel these flush. That is like a weep hole. That's good. So as you can see, the uprights are on the inside and on the inside up here. That seemed to work. Now when I started putting the tightness to it, there was a little bit of a gap here, but it pulled it tight and I didn't hear nothing creaking or anything like that. Now this thing is very, very sturdy. Matter of fact, yeah, I'm very happy with that. We got no rattles, no rattles or anything. So I'm gonna give it a hand clean and get a coat of wax on it, and then I'm gonna get it out there and get this car washed. I really like the black hardware on the bottom mount, and maybe instead of cutting those, I'll actually just get some black screws for that too. I think it would look good. But yeah, as you can see, here's the final product. Everything is nice and flush. You know, you might think this is a gap here, but it wouldn't turn. Whenever you turned that, it made this too far out here, and now it's nice and tight. It does make the trunk really heavy when you're opening it. Not that it's heavy to lift, but you know, you got to think it's going to close a lot harder. So, you know, maybe only drop it from a foot or so when you're going to close it. Like I said, it's a wrap on it getting this thing installed. It took a couple hours by myself. It really could use some help. But let's get this thing out and get it washed, and then we'll get some nice beauty shots outside. is the debut of the new Delta wing from A90 Shop on the Supra. I hope everybody likes it. It's a new look for me. It's a lot, but it's also a really popular style right now. It's a beautiful wing. Construction is great. Clear coat is great. Weave is good. Mounts are sturdy. Very, very happy with it. You saw the install, so you know what's up. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my little outro. This is me removing the stock duckbill that had been on there for about 2 years, so it's double-side taped on. So I'm going to make a whole video of that and cleaning up the trunk and getting it ready. So I hope this video helped everyone, and hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I'll be adding some more stuff to the Supra. You know, I'm going to keep owning this thing for a while. I'm really enjoying the car a lot. So hit that like, subscribe, and see you on the next video. Have a good one. Bye.